Hi everybody, it's Marie from Pear3 Papercraft. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here today with a 12 by 12 process video for Lottie Loves Paper. So this one classes as an advertisement. I'm using the Chamel Field Trip collection again, which is from Lottie Loves Paper, which is just about to be restocked in the shop. And I've used a whole heap of my collection already. I think this is my 7th layout with the collection. And I started with the embellishments, the die cut embellishments. I started with the cardstock stickers. I had the blue and red alphas, and I had, say, I think about 6 or 7 sheets of paper. So I had a decent amount to work with, and I've really made it stretch out. So I've taken some white foundations paper from Vicky Bootin, the mixed media paper, and I'm using a stencil that I made myself using my Cricut. And I'm using some white, it's called Light and Fluffy texture paste from the Crafters Workshop. So yeah, this is my favourite texture paste, modelling paste to use on a layout. It is so light and fluffy, and it is white. Some of the other texture pastes that I've seen and used aren't quite as white, and I do like mine to be white, because then you can colour them, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to use a very small amount of acrylic paint here. So I'm using some, like I say, just from my stash. I bought a kit a while ago. It had like 32 colours in, so I knew I would be able to match to any layout, any colour I was doing using those colours. So I'm just watering it down so that it spreads more easily. Like I say, I've gessoed the page already with clear gesso, so the paint will move around more easily. It won't soak straight in, and it'll allow me to be able to play with that media before it dries. So I'm trying to make a frame here. So the pictures are of my son pretending to be a scientist. We went to the Deep, which is a submarine in Hull, and they had like a half-term workshop on, I think this was last year, and he got to go and make some slime, and they even had a dark room where you could test it out because it was glow-in-the-dark slime. So he got to dress up, and he made the slime himself. So I had to document these 2 pictures because he's got the biggest science jacket on. It's so oversized for him. So I'm trying to make a little frame because I know I've got 2 photographs. They're both 3 by 4, and I want to try and sort of frame them in the middle of the page there. So I'm using, I've obviously put the texture paste on already, but I'm using the colour to try and create that frame. I am running quite low on supplies from the field trip collection now, what I've got left. So by adding mixed media to a page, you can almost sort of stretch it out, because I'm not going to use masses of the papers or masses of the embellishments, and this kind of mixed media background really does do a really good job of framing it and making it all tie in and all match. Now I have printed the photographs in black and white, so I knew I would be free to use whatever sort of colour I wanted. I am a big fan of blues, I do like blue, and science, and some of the embellishments that are science related are blue, so I decided to go with a turquoisey blues. So I'm just playing here with the media. Like I say, it doesn't dry straight away when you gesso the page, so you can move the paint around. So I'm using a variety of sort of techniques, I suppose. I'm blobbing the paint on, I'm splattering, I'm letting it run around by picking the page up and letting that paint do little runs, just to make the colour change and be a little bit different. So I don't want it all the same gradient of blue, so I've used a bit darker here. I do like using acrylic paint to do this. I did do quite a bit previously like this with watercolours, but I find for me they dry too light. So I love the colour they are when they're wet, and then they dry, and the colour kind of, it's less saturated and it just doesn't look quite as fresh. So my personal choice, I like to use acrylics. So just adding a few more splatters on here, and then I'm pretty much done with my mixed media. And then obviously there is a small gap because it does need to dry. So while it was drying, I think I got a bit carried away with myself, and I matted the photographs. They are just matted on a little bit of the grid blue paper and the triangle paper as well. So there's just one piece at one side and one at the other, and I think I also popped them onto a piece of white just to give them that little white border, because I was putting them on such a sort of heavily covered coloured section there. So I did just put a little bit of white in there as well. So there's my two photographs, and I've decided to just offset them slightly. And then all I've got to do now is start picking out some embellishments and a title. So I'm going to go with a very simple title of Slime. Thankfully I had enough letters left in blue to do this, although I do have to now get quite creative with the number 1 to make the exclamation mark that I really want to put on the layout. I do just chop the ends off of 1 using a pair of scissors to make the top of the exclamation mark, and then I just use a tiny bit of the rest of the 1 to make the dot at the bottom. I do contemplate putting this title up here, which is ooh, or you know, that kind of yucky noise you can make, and I put it there and it just doesn't seem to look right. It makes the page too symmetrical, too balanced, and I liked the fact that it wasn't balanced and there was just that title at the bottom, so I took it back off again. Never be afraid to take things back off if you don't like them. So what I'm going to do now is just grab my embellishments. Some of these I have already fussy cut from one of the larger sheets. So there's one of the sheets in the collection that is just covered in lots of different pictures in loads of different colours, all rainbow coloured things. So I've made a lot of use out of that particular sheet, and I have fussy cut most of that page, if not all of it by now. I think I've cut them all up anyway. So I'm just choosing a few little pieces that I want to tuck in. So I've tucked in a couple of books at the top of the left hand photograph, and I'm going to tuck in that blue camera as well. And then, as you can see at the top, there's also that fabulous word awesome, and then there's a couple of microscopes as well, which I thought I just had to include those on the layout. So I won't make you watch all of my fussy cutting, and we will just jump to where I am just gluing all the last bits down. Now I've fussy cut those elements out. I'm just playing now with the arrangement of everything and making sure I'm happy with where it's all going to go. I do this a lot. I'll put my embellishments on and then I'll move them 20 times before I'm completely happy with where they're going. So I'm just using some wet glue now to stick down that word cool and a little microscope, just tucking them in. I find wet glue is better in these situations, especially where you've got mixed media on the background, because it gives you that bit more flexibility in terms of gluing. I use a little fine liner glue there, which I just fill with PVA glue, tacky glue I think it's called, but it's got a really fine nozzle so you don't end up with loads and loads on the page. Just fussy cutting one final thing out there, another microscope, and then just popping my glue on and tucking in all my different elements to finish off my layout. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I like the fact that the mixed media looks messy, and the slime on the day was very, very messy to make, and I think it all just fits and works really nicely together. And it's, like I say, a really good way of making your collection stretch a little bit further by making a background to match in with your embellishments, basically. Well, that's about it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done already. And I will be back soon with another few layouts using this collection. I'm going to stretch it out as far as I possibly can. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.